And welcome back to tonight's live candidates debate featuring the two men who want to represent California's 21st Congressional District for the next 2 years, Congressman T.J. Cox and his Republican challenger, David Valadao. One more question on immigration before we move on to other issues, gentlemen. What about the estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants living in this country right now? Do you favor a path to citizenship for them or something less, rounding them up and sending them all back to their homelands? Mr. Valadao, let me start with you, sir.
So my record's been clear. I've been very vocal in that. I mean, like I said before, I've taken on my own party leadership. I signed a discharge petition, which is about the ultimate thing you can do to take on your own party leadership. And the reason why I have support from groups like the Kern County Farm Bureau and the Fresno Bee and the Bakersfield, California, is because I've been a leader on issues like this. They support me because I've been clear in my positions. I've worked across the aisle to move the ball forward in the right direction. And it's because immigration is something that's personal to me. I mean, my parents are immigrants themselves. I still to this day translate a lot for my parents because Portuguese is our first language. And it's important that we have a representative in Congress that knows how to work across the aisle, has the support of the locals, so that we can deliver on things as important as immigration reform. And yes, I am one of the ones that have been vocal on this issue and will continue to be so.
Congressman Cox, same question to you, sir.
Well, one of my probably the most memorable day that I've had in Congress is voting yes for the Dream and Promise Act. Mr. Valadao couldn't do it because he voted 21 times to prevent it from coming from the floor. He voted against it when he was in the state assembly. You know, I was out at a grape harvest earlier this year, and I met a young man. He's undocumented, but he takes care of his brothers and sisters. And the young man, he works in the fields in the morning, he goes to Bakersfield College in the afternoon, and he works another job at night. But before he leaves in the morning, he has to tell his brothers and sisters, don't be afraid if I don't come home, right? Because he's worried about being picked up by ICE, because we don't have a policy that works for him, that honors his commitment to his family, his community. That's something that I've been focused on. In fact, this year I was so happy to preside, because of the work I did working with Democrats and Republicans, to preside over the first piece of bipartisan farm worker immigration legislation that was passed in 30 years. A real accomplishment.
All right, I want to move on because, Congressman, you alluded to this, but Mr. Valadao, I'll start with you with this question. What is the plan for Dreamers moving forward if you were to win the election and you get back to the House of Representatives?
The DREAM Act has been passed on numerous different fronts, making sure that legislation moves forward that allows kids to come out of the shadows, figure out who they are, and ultimately a path to citizenship, I think, has to be the goal. And these kids came here no fault of their own. I think Republicans and Democrats both agree that this has to be resolved as quickly as possible. These kids play a vital role in our community, and I was proud to stand with them on so many different occasions by signing on to pieces of legislation. My opponent chose to continue to deceive on that, but the fact that different groups are supporting me, like the Fresno Bee, based on my position on immigration, is because I was a leader on this and will continue to be a leader on this issue because it's so important to the Central Valley.
And real quick, before Congressman, your rebuttal, real quick, what about the kids that are on the border right now seeking asylum?
So we have to make sure we know who these kids are. We have an asylum process in place. We have to make sure that those rules work so that we can protect our country, but also know who these kids are, take them out of harm's way, because a lot of times they are being trafficked. And that is something that when you look at the whole immigration reform process and why it's important for us to know who people are is a lot of times these kids are out there being trafficked to be used as props for folks to get across the border, sometimes dangerous people. Making sure that we handle this appropriately, putting people on the border that could tell the difference between someone who was truly with their family and not with their family, and making sure that we handle them as safely and humanely as possible, because these kids could possibly be our future and maybe this is their last hope. So we have to support the laws as written and improve those to make sure we keep these kids safe.
Congressman, your response to what he had to say, and obviously the kids that are still on the border, some being separated from families.
Well, thank you so much. Is that, here's what he's saying, that in 6 years in Congress, he couldn't get a DREAM Act to the floor. He keeps on providing excuses. Oh, the Democrats didn't support me. Well, where was your bill? I was so proud to have that being done as one of my very first things accomplished in my time in Washington.
Congressman, you had 231 co-sponsors on that.
Absolutely, because we knew it was the right thing to do. For some reason, his side didn't think it was the right thing to do. And certainly the president, Mr. Trump, that he supports today, is doing all he can to slam that door on our dreamers that contribute so much to our communities and to their families. And with regard to the kids on the border, you've seen what's happened under this administration. An administration, once again, with a president that he supports that calls Mexicans rapists and murderers, he has got no respect for these individuals, right, and their pursuit of the American dream.
The sad reality is when you talk about working across the aisle, you have no example of people actually working with you across the aisle. And to say that you passed the bill off the House floor doesn't solve the problem. So the problem continues. As the moderator brought up, Alex mentioned, people are still on the border. So you haven't delivered either. This is a tough issue, and partisan attacks and partisan politics are exactly what's wrong. And you continue to deceive the people who are here watching today. They all know exactly what's going on. They've been reading the press. They know that you continue to deceive them on what you've done and what you haven't done. The problem still exists. You have done nothing to deliver on it.
Okay, gentlemen, we got to move on. We have other issues to cover here. And of course, foremost among them, perhaps right now, is COVID-19. Now that we know a little bit more about how to battle the novel coronavirus, if elected, what would you encourage Congress to do differently in terms of a new stimulus bill? Congressman Cox, let me start with you, sir.
Well, your health and the health of everybody out there that's listening tonight is my primary concern. We need to be able to kill this virus right now. And we know what we need to do. We need to test, we need to trace, we need to isolate, and we need to treat. And we passed the HEROES Act, which provides the opportunity and investments to do all of those things some 4 months ago. His party and his president, Mr. Trump, don't want to do anything. We know what we need to do to open our schools, to get our businesses back open, and to get our seniors and our parents out of their homes. We need to listen to the scientists and the doctors and the people that have dedicated their lives towards preventing these types of crises. And that's what we've been focused on doing. I've passed a number of measures to be able to provide the investment and the capital to be able to do that going forward.
Mr. Valadao, what should Congress do differently with the next stimulus bill, if there is one?
So the HEROES Act, interesting you brought that up. His own party, a member of his freshman class, a Democrat from Southern California, literally went on TV and said that was the most partisan Christmas tree of a piece of legislation introduced. The reason why it hasn't moved forward is because they use opportunities with people sick at home to try to further their agenda. They actually tried to cut funding for COPS Grant, a program that helps put police officers on the ground protecting our community. Why put that in a COVID bill? Why play politics with such an important topic? No, we have to make sure we have the dollars there to make sure that we test and that we treat the disease and we continue the process of allowing for us to fight this, and that's going to take resources. But playing politics and using something like COVID to cut funding to law enforcement is just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just one of the dirtiest political tricks, and of course, even his own side of the aisle agreed. When Katie Porter posted that video online of how that piece of legislation was literally a political partisan Christmas tree for their party, they're holding hostage funding for people who desperately need it in our communities.
All right, guys, I want to move on to the face mask debate. Obviously, it's a hot topic. I want to know, Mr. Valadao, I'll start with you first. Do you support wearing a face mask in public when social distancing is not able to happen?
Yes, I do wear a face mask. I go out in public. People see me all the time. They still recognize me with the face mask on. But I think it's important that we follow social distancing guidelines. I think it's important that we try to keep one another safe. COVID-19 is a true threat to our communities. We have to make sure that we do everything in our power to keep ourselves safe. And I do that along with my family. I keep masks in my pocket, keep them in my pickup, and we make sure we do everything we can to follow the rules.
Congressman?
Yeah. Naturally, we've been wearing face masks and following the CDC's guidelines for months now. We're not behind a president administration that's saying, that's going to admit to themselves that they lied to the American public because they didn't want to scare the American public. We're not behind a president that's saying it's magically going to go away. We follow the scientists and we follow the experts. And the number one thing that we can do is wear a mask.
All right, so with all that being said there, Mr. Valadao, Congressman, why is it that during the height of the pandemic, both of you released social media posts that showed no mask and very minimal social distancing? Mr. Valadao, I'll start with you.
So the specific ones that were released, or the pictures that were posted, was at an event that I was at, and we had actually done everything the right way. Took temperatures on the way in, wore masks the whole time. We removed them for the pictures.
Were tests given?
No tests were given, but temperatures were taken, everything that we could possibly do to keep us safe was done. We removed them just for the pictures, and then after the pictures were done, we put everything right back on. So it sadly was just another political attack, but the reality was we followed all the guidelines, and we made sure that we kept everyone safe. In fact, a lot of the folks in that were actual doctors, so following their guidelines makes sense too.
Congressman, how do you explain your post?
Well, the last photo that I think is out there of me is back in July when we had the face mask before the widespread directives that came out from the CDC. But we've always been very, very diligent about wearing masks, about social distancing, and trying to keep ourselves safe. I think that you see that there's one party that is dedicated to keeping ourselves safe. One side that's having open air or rallies and no masks, and thinking that wearing a mask is some type of political statement, rather than caring for each of our citizens. And going at it, as I said before, it's my goal, right, and my intent, that everyone's health is my #1 priority.
Well, gentlemen, if elected, looking at this winter season that is approaching, and all the estimates are that this is going to get worse before it gets better, the COVID-19 pandemic. If elected, would you vote for another stimulus bill? And if so, be specific. Where should the money be focused? Congressman Cox.
Well, we have voted already, Jim, for the HEROES package some 4 months ago, 160 days ago, right? It was $3.2 billion. Now it's been pared down to about $2 billion, but it's very specific. The largest tranche of money goes to our state and local governments to pay for our first responders, our law enforcement agencies, our firefighters, and all the other government agencies that keep us, and employees that keep us safe each and every day. And then there's monies for our schools to reopen our schools, monies for small businesses, and money for that testing, that tracing, that treatment and isolation that we know that we have to do to be able to solve this pandemic and this crisis before we get to a vaccination. Public health is really about everyone rowing in the same direction. And we need leadership from the top, right, to bring us all together so we're all in this collectively. Nobody wants anybody else to get sick. We all want to end this as soon as possible. And the HEROES Act is a great first step towards that.
All right. Mr. Valadao, specifics on where you would target that money.
So again, I wouldn't put a piece of legislation forward with a partisan wish list of items in there like was pushed forward with the HEROES Act. I wouldn't focus on cutting dollars from my law enforcement, those who keep us safe. Make sure that those dollars flow to the areas that need them most. Obviously, our local communities are where that need is most. There are families, there are businesses, there are folks at home that aren't able to close their door, open their doors because of COVID and because of the impacts it have and the threats. We have to make sure that those folks have the ability to keep their businesses open, their families fed, and make sure our cities and counties have the resources necessary to continue all the public safety and all the different options that they fund and that they run through their department. And making sure that's done has to be passed through a piece of legislation that, again, isn't a big partisan wish list that's just being passed for talking points but not actually solve people's problems.
All right, before moving on to another subject, I want to get in the last hot topic, a vaccine. If the FDA approves one within the next month or two, one, will you take it? And number two, we've heard from Governor Newsom that he is not willing to just accept the FDA and have a task force to review the science of the FDA. Do you approve of that, for one? Or two, would you take the vaccine right away? Mr. Valadao, we'll start with you.
So when it comes to vaccines, I've never been a huge fan, but I do take vaccines. I do my flu vaccine. I do lots of vaccines. But when it comes to COVID, when it is developed and the FDA does release it and say that it's safe, I mean, I know that the FDA does a great job, and I would trust them and take the vaccine.
Congressman?
I'll take the vaccine right after Anthony Fauci takes the vaccine, all right? We've seen how this administration has politicized public health. The other day, just to go back on the masks, right? Their spokesman of the coronavirus task force, this guy from Stanford, Atlas, he said masks don't work, right? Because of the blowback from the real public health professionals, right? They rescinded and deleted that tweet. This is not an administration that believes in science. The other day, President Trump said that exact thing, right? I don't believe the science. And so I tell you what, I am going to take that vaccine once it has been absolutely vetted, by all the true professionals.
But is it fair that Governor Newsom will wait and have his own task force?
Here's what you're saying there, is that what Governor Newsom is saying? And this is what the whole crime with this administration, how they politicize our public health and our own safety, right? He's saying that we don't trust this administration. And I don't trust this administration. I don't know who would. 210,000 people is not something to base any trust. Dead is not something to base any trust on. You know what 210,000 people is? We're due an apology from this administration and this president.
So the problem with this is, again, it's partisan. There are thousands of people who work at the FDA that are so far below the pay grade of a political appointee that politics are not going to play that kind of a role. And this is exactly why it's wrong to have someone like TJ Cox in this seat. We need people who are looking to build us together and bring us together. And he wants to point fingers at everyone else as the reason why we're so divided. But as you can see right here, right now, in his rhetoric, it's attack, attack, attack. The FDA, through all different levels. Yes, you get below the political class, the ones that are appointed by this president. But you get below that, there's a lot of good, hardworking people who are doing their very best because they have families at home doing their very best to keep them safe. And I think that those people are going to do their job, and I trust them to do their job, and the FDA is someone that we should look to. And play politics with this issue is just plain disgusting.
All right, gentlemen, let's stay with the science. There is a growing body of scientific evidence that supports the argument that climate change is real, and a primary cause of climate change is the burning of fossil fuels. Gentlemen, in your view, is climate change real? Excuse me. And secondly, is it man-made? Congressman Cox, let's start with you.
Climate change is real, and it's man-made. I mean, the introduction of so much carbon into our atmosphere has had warming effects. And that's not a belief. That's science. That's science that have put that out. But there's a number of things that we could do. Is the Earth getting warmer? Absolutely, it is. But if we don't do something, we are going to all burn or drown or starve. And we need to be able to take a longer view to be able to transition ourselves to these clean burning, sustainable energy sources so we can move ourselves away from a carbon-based economy.
Mr. Valadao, the president said the other day, science doesn't know. Do you align yourself with that line of thinking?
So obviously, as we all know, I've disagreed with the president on numerous topics over the years, and this is just going to be one of them. I do agree that climate change is real. I do understand that I do believe that people play a role in it, but there is a lot more at play here. And obviously making sure that we do a good job of how we operate our vehicles, the type of equipment we run, managing our forest. That's one that we suffered through so much over these past few months. Because of not having proper management of our forest, we had fires that took us back decades on the progress we had already made over the last few years in our air quality here in the Central Valley alone. In these past few weeks, questioning if you even have COVID in the first place, but it's because you were breathing in ashes the whole time, because I do spend a lot of time outside working, is something that we struggle with, and it's because of not having proper management of our forests. If we had done a better job of that, and that goes both state and federal, we've got to make sure that we do a good job of managing our forests so that they're not burning and making the situation worse than it really is. But we do have to make sure that we do a good job on a national front. Our trade policy plays a role in that as well, making sure that we trade with nations who meet our standards and actually do a good job of producing good, clean products for us to consume and use.
Okay.
All right, I want to move on to this. As you were talking about cars right there, Mr. Valadao, we'll have Congressman Cox start with this question here. What is your view of Governor Newsom's executive order to ban the sale of gas-powered cars in California in 15 years? Will it work in a district that is considered one of the poorest in the state?
Yeah, to me, that edict in that question really isn't so much about cars. It's really about transitioning, as I was saying before, away from a fossil fuel, right, based energy systems, right, and being able to manage that transition till we get to those clean burning, or that those clean energy sources of the future. And and the thing about Kern, which is one of the top energy producing counties in the nation, we've got such great opportunities to do that with sun and solar and wind, and the other types of technologies that are coming out. I was just at the Crimson biofuel plant, and there's creating hundreds of jobs, well-paying jobs that pay the same amount as refineries used to. And so it's going to be how we manage that and really looking to the future, because whoever is owning that future of owning sustainable technologies and energy for the future is going to be the leading economies of the future.
Mr. Valadao is getting rid of gas-powered cars in the future, 15 years from now. Is that reality? Again, it would be new cars that would be built that would no longer be gas-powered.
No, I'm familiar with it, and sadly this was another opportunity for TJ to take a stand against someone who's actually hurting the poorest of the poor here in our Central Valley. People struggle. Energy costs are going up. Being able to keep your families comfortable, making sure you even have power in the first place is something that people truly struggle here in the Central Valley. And so we've got to make sure that energy is there. Now, to convert in the next 15 years to 100% electric vehicles is going to make it much, much harder on those people more than anyone else in our communities, especially the people around TJ's neighborhood outside the district where he lives. We've got to make sure that we do transition to a cleaner burning, more efficient world. But the problem that we have today is the policies of people like Gavin Newsom have actually made life harder for the people that work the hardest on the ground. Yes, solar is an option. I have the solar farm myself. But we also have an issue here in the state of California where we pay our neighboring states to take our excess solar power because we produce too much. So we're actually paying through your utility bills to get rid of power that we're overproducing that we're not using during the day, but because we don't have any sort of storage or any sort of production that carries into the evenings, we run out of power and have to turn off our air conditioning once we get home and survive 110-degree days without air conditioning and actually make ourselves very uncomfortable and potentially health risk for our families. And that's all because of horrible policies passed at the state legislature and his friends in Sacramento.
Gentlemen, with the economy, the 21st Congressional District is one of the poorest congressional districts in the state. What is your plan for creating more jobs and generating more wealth for the people of the 21st District who are just struggling to make ends meet? Mr. Valadao, let me start with you.
Well, I mean, water is your first and foremost. Without water, obviously that's, for our agriculture, that's huge. But when you get into our communities, how do our communities survive without having a reliable water supply? Water plays a vital role in it. Making sure that you pass legislation like we did, made it through the House, through the Senate as well, not just out of our own committees, all the way to the President's desk and actually sign into law. Having a President actually active in delivering on biological opinions, that roadmap on how you actually deliver water to the Central Valley and being supportive of that. But also tax policies. The tax policies that we passed actually encouraged. I know that they like to call it a tax break for the rich, but what we did was we encouraged businesses to make investments in their businesses. Well, how do we do that? By telling them if you invested, you bought equipment, if you invested in some sort of infrastructure, you built a shop, built a store, built something, put people to work, that they would get a tax break. That was why unemployment numbers dropped to record lows all across the valley. And I think people see that. Making sure that we have a good, reliable energy supply so energy prices are low enough so businesses would be attracted here. Keeping business regulation down. Those are all things that need to be done, have been done, and this administration under Speaker Pelosi continues to push back on and destroy.
Mr. Cox?
Well, what I was doing before Congress, and what I'm certainly doing in Congress, is working on economic development, making these key investments that pay off with regard to economic returns, social, environmental returns. That's win, win, win across the board. And we know what we need to do. We need to be able to invest in things like more community health clinics. We need to get the hospitals back open here. We need to be able to make sure that we're working on the technologies of the future. These clean, renewable technologies. We need to invest in infrastructure, things like telehealth. The number one thing that we can do to grow our economy here is to make sure that every home in the valley has access to affordable broadband. That's the number one thing. And that's something that I've been working together on the broadband task force with Republicans and Democrats. That's something that is going to happen in the second term, very early on. Very happy to be at the forefront of that.
All right, gentlemen, I want to move on to wildfires. It has been a horrific summer, as you both know. In fact, wildfires are now season-long, and scientists and environmentalists say our escalating wildfire seasons are a byproduct of climate change. We've talked about that earlier. But how would you start to mitigate the wildfires as if you were in Washington once again? And Congressman, I will start with you. How do you mitigate that? How do you take it all the way to the top so California stops burning?
Yeah, no, it's that, one, we have to manage the forests. We've had 100 years of mismanagement. And I think you can see that some of the private forests, the forests that are managed by SoCal Edison, they've actually been very, very healthy. And so it's 100 years of mismanagement. And we can start by making those key infrastructure investments to be able to manage our forests. But, you know, the larger picture is that it's just not the forest. is that we need to get our infrastructure investments back up to where they used to be. Back in the 60s, we used to invest some 5% of our GDP into infrastructure. This year, it's going to be below 1%. If it was at 5%, that'd be $1 trillion a year for roads, for bridges, for public health, for everything.
Okay, Mr. Valadao, you have about 45 seconds to answer that question, please, sir.
My tongue gets short. So obviously managing our forest. Managing our forest plays a vital role on so many different things. Obviously, we wouldn't have the situation we've got today with the forest burning because there'd be less trees. But with those more trees that were out there, that obviously created the problem, made it worse for other issues as well. I mean, we lost jobs by getting rid of a lot of our forest management, but we also had an opportunity there to get more water in the Central Valley. But because of the number of trees up there and the drought that we did struggle through, we actually had less water getting down into the valley, and it had an impact. So making sure we manage our forests properly will have a positive impact for us on the fires, on our water, and our employment here in the Central Valley. And so it's an important issue that we've got to do. And that's at both state and federal level. That's not just pointing fingers at one side or the other. Okay. We've got to work with both state and federal to make sure that it's done at both levels so that we can actually solve that problem.
All right, gentlemen, it's now time for closing statements. It's been a fierce and somewhat friendly battle. We appreciate it. By virtue of that coin toss from earlier, Congressman Cox, you will go first for your closing statement. You have 1 minute, sir.
It is an honor and a privilege to represent the 21st Congressional District in Washington, D.C. I'm very serious when I say I never forget that I work for you. Going forward, I look forward to expanding opportunity, to killing this virus, to expanding health care, bringing down the cost of prescription drugs, finally getting something done on immigration. I look forward to working for you for many years to come. It would be an honor, once again, to earn your vote.
Congressman, thank you. Actually, it was 30 seconds, Congressman. I appreciate you for keeping me on task. Mr. Valadao.
So thank you again for tuning in today and watching today's debate. It's very important you get out and vote. We've got 2 weeks left, and I'm asking for your vote because you want someone who cares about your community, who lives in your community, who is a part of your community, someone who knows the issues firsthand, exactly what it's like to live in this area, making sure that you fight for things that are important for all of us. Jobs, the economy, health care, water, all things that are very, very important to us here. And as a person that's been part of this community my entire life and continues to fight for it on a daily basis, I look forward to having your support, and I would appreciate your vote.
David Valadao, Congressman T.J. Cox, gentlemen, we want to thank you for your time tonight, and we wish you well in your respective campaigns as we head down the home stretch to Election Day on November 3rd. And we want to also thank you at home for spending some time with us tonight. For Alex Balakian, I'm Jim Scott. Good night.
This has been a special edition of 17 News, your local election headquarters, a public service of KGET TV.